Hey guys, thanks for joining me on the Primed Fatherhood podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Condi, and this is episode 19. When I was first starting Rugged Material, I was still in college, and somebody gave me the tip to take my business idea and products to a group called the Thinkubator. It was a Thursday night meeting, and when I walked in, my wife and buddy were with me. And there's this big room with a fancy conference table and a whole bunch of guys sitting all around it, kind of having side conversations, talking amongst themselves. And no one really noticed that we came in. But by the time that we sat down, this guy came over and shook my hand. And he said, "Hey, my name's Andy. What's yours?" And then he asked, "What do you do? How can we help you?" And within just a couple of minutes, he was introducing me to a few different guys who had experience manufacturing and selling their own products. And I didn't know it at the time, but when I shook Andy's hand, I became a part of a powerful network of thousands of amazing people. Andy Springer is the best networker I know. He's a dad to 3 young men, a husband to a great woman, a successful salesman, an insurance guy, a real estate investor, and a serial entrepreneur. Andy is a networking pro, and I'm really excited to share this interview with you as we talk about the ways that he networks, the benefits that he gets out of it, and how you can grow your network to not only benefit your career, but to also benefit your family. Also, real quick, if you're watching this episode on YouTube, you'll notice the last few episodes have been filmed much better than prior ones. But today, we got too excited and started with a dead battery on the camera. So the actual video doesn't start for a few minutes, but I got it going as we went. Someday I'll get this right, I hope. We have answered the call. We are committed to a greater purpose. We are fathers. Past achievements do not guarantee future success. We will prime ourselves often to navigate each new challenge. We are capable, brave, and relentless. We will remain undaunted. All right, Andy, I'm super excited to have you on. One of the things that I admire the most about you, and that everyone who knows you sees and admires, is your ability to get to know people and connect them with other people who will help them and who will really be excited about what they're doing, and just your ability to network and to grow your businesses and to help your family and your friends. I think it's amazing. So how much of this superpower that you have is natural versus learned skill?
Well, I brag all the time that my greatest talent is knowing people more talented than me. And I love solving problems. And to me, networking is just solving problems. I love to hear that, this person A has a need, and then knowing that, oh my gosh, I can line person B up with that need. It happened today at lunch. I told you with my business partner, I've seen a need on him that he has had this whole time, and I already knew a solution for him. And finally today at lunch, it came together and I put it together, and I have zero stake at what I put together today. Like literally, I make no money or anything off of that, of putting deals together. I mean, I've made huge real estate transaction deals for people. Where I make no money with it, mm-hmm. And for some reason I walk away like, God, that was so awesome. I'm so glad I put those two together. So I think it's natural. I just have always enjoyed, solving those issues and just putting two people in a better situation, than they were before. And, but as I've done it time and time again, I think I've gotten way better at it. And part of that is as I've gotten to know more people. And that's one of the reasons I love networking is I just love finding out about who they are, what they do. And even though I may not have a need or I may not know how to help them at that point, it's just awesome because then 6 months later, somebody will have that need and I just instantly know, oh my gosh, I know who you need to talk to. So I enjoy it. It's fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've noticed that you almost never have a stake in the connections that you're making with people, you know.
You know, I actually have a business coach who's awesome. And he always gets after me for that. He's like, you know, people make money doing that, you know? And I say, yeah, I just feel guilty because I truly just enjoy doing it. I just get excited just for doing it, you know? And I will say that my kids joke. They're always like, Dad, you got a buddy for everything. And I truly think that there's probably not a problem I will run into no matter where I'm at. It doesn't matter where we're at. I have a buddy that can help me solve that problem. Mm-hmm. And part of that is because of what I do so much with the connecting. It seems like people are always thinking they owe me favors. I don't do it because I feel like they owe me anything. I truly do it because I enjoy doing it. But it definitely comes in handy when I need a favor. And I need a buddy, and I call that buddy, and they just come through every single time. And so I may not get compensated monetarily, but when it really comes down to it, and I need a buddy or somebody to bail me out or help me out, they're always there, you know. So it's kind of nice.
Yeah, so everyone knows that networking is an important part of building your career and having support, like you're saying, for yourself and for your family, but it doesn't come naturally to everyone. And because you've been so involved in all these different networking events and you've mm-hmm. run some of the organizations and you've run masterminds and stuff, what are some tips that you would have for people to help them to be better at it and to get more out of the exercise?
You know, it's funny that it's a great question, by the way. Thank you. And we are all taught that we need to do it, but nobody's taught how to do it. Have you ever been to a Chamber of Commerce lunch? I'm going to pick on the Chamber of Commerce because that's what I was told. As soon as I started my own business, I moved to a town where I knew nobody.
Join the Chamber.
Yeah. Join the Chamber of Commerce. It'll solve all your problems. I love the Chamber of Commerce, so this is not me ripping on the Chamber of Commerce. But this is how it would go down. You'd go to the meeting. You'd sit down. Maybe there's two people that you know. Hopefully there's two people
in the
you know.
Whole room.
Yeah. And you go sit down at that table with the two people you know. And you talk about the things that you already have talked about. And you listen to a speaker. And then you eat lunch and then you leave. And they call that networking. And that's
you drop your business card in a bowl.
You shove a business card in somebody's face. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't even know you. And so it's terrible networking. But yet that's how we've all been taught. You know what I mean? And so I have truly enjoyed being involved with another group. It started out they were called Corporate Alliance, you know, then Allies down here in Southern Utah. And the best thing that they've done for me, and they've done for a lot of business owners and people who are learning networking, is they've taught us how to network, how to be likable. And there's a million books out there that teach this concept. You know what I mean? And so really all we're doing is grabbing good information that's been out there and trying to teach that to other people. And then we've put on events that have created an atmosphere that's comfortable from the introverts. I always joke because it's very systematic to where it opens the introverts up, but yet it controls the extroverts like me. So we shut up. You know, and so it creates a good balance. So there's nobody dominating the table, and the guys that just don't want to talk, it really it makes it comfortable for them to talk, the guys and gals. And so, you know, and they're always like, oh my gosh, you're competing with these other networking groups like the Chamber, like Rotary, like this. I'm like, no, it enhances. We are enhancing your opportunity to go out. You could be part of the PTA for all I know. Mm-hmm. And I actually learned this, which is funny because I learned it on my own, almost as if when I was in the Chamber, I'm like, I'm not getting to meet anybody doing this. This is silly. So I was naive. I was young. I had no clients at that time. So what did I do? I volunteered. I had all sorts of time. So I started volunteering. Next thing you know, I'm the Chamber president. You know what I mean? Careful when you volunteer because you move up the ladder real quick when you're willing, right? Mm-hmm. So I realized though, through doing that all of my best connections were coming from me being involved and just getting involved and doing something that had nothing to do with me throwing a business card in somebody's face. It was me just being willing to help out, plan a project, whatever, MC an event, whatever they wanted me to do, run a meeting or whatever. And that's where I got most of my connections. And, this is more of a business principle, but you need to realize many people look at networking and they want an immediate effect from that. It's not always immediate. If you're just genuine at getting to know somebody and asking them who they are and what they do, I don't know if you've ever sat down and just asked somebody those questions and, or somebody's done that to you and then you leave them like, God, that guy was so cool. And they did nothing but talk about you the whole time. You know what I mean? And I feel that, with that principle and just getting involved in helping other people, you just naturally get to know these people. And then when the time comes and when they think about you and they know who you are, when you need that favor, so to speak, or, I own an insurance agency. And for me, I was frustrated initially because I'm like, I'm spending all this time taking care of other people and helping out and serving and all this stuff. And I'm not writing any more automobile insurance than I was before, or home insurance, or life insurance. Mm-hmm. But you know what? I've been doing it for 16 years now. Still to this day, it's paying dividends. Still to this day, somebody will come up to me who just got married, who just got divorced, who just bought a house, who just bought a car. And because of the ability for me to really truly get to know them and them get to know me, once the timing is right, now they're coming and talking to me about it, or my staff. And so that's, I don't know if that's what you're asking, but networking to me it's a long-term play. Don't expect immediate return. Sometimes it does though. Truly, sometimes you just get to meet somebody and next thing you know, you're doing business together, Yeah. But most importantly, if you're just genuine and really trying to get to know people, it's amazing, how effective that can be either at that moment or even 15, 16 years down the road. So,
yeah. Yeah. I think what I like about your approach a lot is that exactly what you just said, you look at it as a opportunity to just help and get to know someone without having expectations for where it'll take you.
Yep.
If you get an immediate connection out of it where something can happen, or if it's 15 years later, you're still just in it, focused on the people and trying to learn
and how you
what
can help
they
them.
do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The golden rule. God, it works.
Golden rule. Yep. So while we're thinking about that and just in your ability to come in without expectations, I think that's a hugely helpful principle for working with people across the board. I love the little saying that says expectations are resentments under construction. And because if you do have really high expectations and people aren't meeting those, it doesn't matter if you told them your expectations. If they're not meeting them, you're going to resent them.
Yep.
But your approach is great because there's no expectations. You're just going for it and getting to know them and seeing how it goes. I think that's a really powerful people skill. What other people skills have you learned that have helped you to work with either your employees or just the people that you're meeting at these different things?
You know what? I have a college degree. So I laugh because I got my degree in information technology. I got a degree in information technology because it made sense. I had a brother-in-law that's what he does, and he makes good money and can pretty much will have a job for the rest of his life, because he's smart with it. Mm-hmm. All I learned from that degree was I suck at programming. So, and it was the wrong choice for me. But in the meantime, probably the best thing I did is I was a full-time part-timer with school, meaning I always worked full-time.
Yeah.
And then I went to school part-time all the time. And all of everything that I've learned, honestly, was from work. And it was from my managers. And most of what I learned how to be a manager at work, for example, how I treat my employees, going back to your question, was really how I don't want to be treated. Like I had managers that were terrible managers. I had managers that were incredible managers. And my management style is simply don't be like that guy and be more like that guy. And so I'm very hands off. I like to find people that are willing to just go out and not be afraid to make mistakes. I always tell my employees, doers make mistakes. I'm like, what? I'm like, in other words, don't be afraid to not do something because you're going to make a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
But fix your mistake as soon as you're done with it and learn from it. And that's how I personally learn. I just go out and do stuff. I'm a hands-on guy, and I make mistakes all the time. And I fix those mistakes, and I try not to do them again. And so my employees, I feel like they are very comfortable in just doing their job, knowing that their boss isn't going to come down hard on them, if they do something wrong. And sometimes it's pretty terrible. And I just say, well, how you can fix it, and they tell me, I'm like, all right, sounds good, and we just move forward. So,
yeah, that's awesome. I love that the doers make mistakes. I'm going to steal that from you for sure. So have you ever been accused of being too helpful or too enthusiastic?
My wife likes to, she's always like, so why are you doing that again? I don't know, because they need help, and she knows that I just love to help people, but she's 100% on board and supportive of what I do. But sometimes I'll do a lot of business deals that she knows are pretty big business, money deals that I have zero stake in. I'm just doing it just because I enjoy doing it. And she does question me. Like I said, my business coach is always questioning me. He's like, dude, you can get involved in that, right? And just ask. And I don't know. I honestly tried it once. It was so uncomfortable. I haven't done it since. So,
yeah. Well, that if you're helping people out and building trust and you're doing it, that there'll eventually be some reciprocity if they.
And I have stories of where that's happened as well. I just kept helping somebody. Next thing you know, they just automatically included me in a deal that, I have it going on right now. I'll be honest with you. I have a business relationship with a guy that I just look at it as a sheer blessing that I'm even involved where I'm at, and he just keeps hooking me up, and I haven't even asked for it. You know what I mean? And it just gets better, and the deal just keeps getting better and better, and there's no other reason other than he's just a good friend, and so I would say my I would probably have been a much more wealthy person if I would have just asked for some of these deals and been involved in them, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Yeah, for sure. So when you do come across people who are just completely different from you, how do you work with them or handle that situation?
I've heard, and I'm not judging anybody, but like I just decided a long time ago that I heard like people like, I'm not going to watch that movie because that movie star said this, or I'm not going to listen to that song because that person said this. And I'm like, I like that movie. I like that song. And just because they said something stupid, does that make it to where I shouldn't watch it? And I get why they're boycotting it or this or that. But I just decided a long time ago that if you want to be political, if you want to say this or that, that's your belief. That's not mine. But if you have a true talent for something, then I'll still listen or watch. And I think I learned that from my dad, because honestly, my dad and I are completely opposite. So it's not like my dad taught me like tolerance or this or that. We just truly are completely different people. And he's 6'4", dark hair, I'm 5'10", blonde hair. He is extremely musically talented. I was a sports freak my whole life, and still am. He's calm and intelligent. He's a Democrat. He loves big government and big union stuff. That's who he is. I'm a psycho entrepreneur, high energy, crazy guy, and yet my dad and I have always had an incredibly good relationship. And he loves me for who I am, and I love him for who he is. And he's the one that taught me that, is because he never judged me for being different than him. He always just loved me and supported me, really. even though he thinks different, and sometimes we go off on some tangents, with his views and my views, but it's mostly just, joking.
Mm-hmm.
And, so, but I think that's where, I've just realized that, God, you can be different and just love each other and just be there for each other and care for each other. Cause I've learned so many good things from my dad that we have in common, like work ethic. My dad was, I'm not kidding, from the time I remember, my dad had a paper route, in the morning. His hands are just full of arthritis because of it now, poor guy. But he would get up and do this paper route. And sometimes I'd go with him as a little kid, and then he would go work. And then he was still going to school when I was a young kid. I'm second oldest of 6 kids. And so I remember my dad getting his second master's degree, and becoming an administrator. He was a school teacher, and he became a school principal at that point, after that. And he just is such an incredibly hard worker. And his dad was the same way, and it's just something that I've learned from him. And we've always shared that love of work. And it's something that I've tried to show my kids as well, but he was not a dictator. He was never like, you do this and you do that, or he just did it by example. And so that's how we did, that's how we did things. So It's awesome.
Was there ever a point in time in your relationship where you guys weren't seeing eye to eye for an extended time? And
no,
if there was,
there really hasn't been, honestly. He seriously is so calm and chill that he's just put up with my crap his whole life. Is probably, I'm putting all that on him, meaning we've never had any issues, our whole life. He's always just been there for me, and I've always known that. And my poor mom is probably the one who had to deal more with me during my idiotic childhood days, and my poor sister too. I think I still apologize to my sister every time I see her for teasing her so much, growing up. But
yeah.
And now I see one of my kids, God, he just blows up sometimes. He'll freak out over the dumbest little things. And then I'll be like, oh my gosh, he's just like me. I did the exact same thing. My siblings were always just like, you used to be such a freak in high school, and you'd get so mad if their house was dirty or whatever and this and that. And it's totally my kid. Oh my gosh, it's my fault.
That's how it goes. We give them our best and our worst traits, I think.
For sure. So, that is for sure.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you're putting that all on your dad, that you guys can be opposite but still have a good relationship. I feel like that's something that a lot of us struggle with. If we have the expectation that we're going to have the same interests or same views, and then we don't, then that can be a real challenge. So
it really can, and I can see why it bugs a lot of people. But I mean, I have employees who are completely politics are the easy one to pick on, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's so black and white, and social media just tries to push us so far away from each other because of it.
Right.
And I just decided a long time, I don't care. You can think whatever you want to think. You can be passionate about what you want to think. And I just look at it as passion. I'm passionate about my own things. They're passionate about that. I'm passionate about something else. And that's okay to be passionate about different things, even if it's something we don't completely agree on. I learned that the hard way too, as I was ripping on somebody for being passionate about something. I didn't think of it as passion. I just thought it was idiocy. Well, I thought it was idiocy because I didn't agree with it, right? Mm-hmm. And this person called me out on it. This is a friend, and she's just like, listen, you can't be mad at them for having passion about that. And then I just thought about it. I'm like, dang it, you're so right. Just because I think it's stupid doesn't mean they think it's stupid. So let them be passionate about it, even though it's, honestly, in my head, it's stupid. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of that going on, but it's all right. They're just passionate.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely a challenging one. What were some of the other lessons that you learned growing up with your 5 siblings?
You know what? I've thought about this a lot, and you know what? I have incredible relationships with all of my siblings. My brothers are my best friends. My sisters, I love them to death. Their husbands, I love them to death. And if there's one trait that I've learned from my family and that I've tried to really pass on to and just be open and obvious and talk to my kids all the time about it. It's about sharing. I know that sounds weird because like, what does sharing have to do with, family relationships? But I grew up in a household where my mom had a little salon in our house, and it was like an open door policy. I swear there was people there all the time. My dad's a school teacher, so we were never, I would never consider us poor, but it's not like we were loaded with money and had the biggest houses, but yet and 6 kids. And we always, I'm not kidding, always had somebody non-related to me living in my house. Like there was a time when me and 2 of my brothers were sharing a room just so a stranger could have his own room, Yeah. We didn't think anything different though. That's just how we grew up. I'd come home from school, like I'd left school because of an assembly or something, and I'd already have 3 friends over at my house.
Before you got there?
Before I got there. Eating cereal. My mom just had an open pantry policy for anybody and everybody that wanted to come in, and so my older brother, I didn't know that this was not, abnormal until I got older, but I'm not kidding you. He would let me wear anything I wanted of his. Listen to any one of his CDs, back in the day, CDs or tapes. Drive his car. I'm not kidding. He would let me drive his car anytime I would take his car skiing or out on the night. Like he would just give me his car. It's his car. He paid for it. And he would just give it to me. That's not normal from what I've seen. Like to somebody just be that willing to just share those types of things, especially when my brother was working hard at Hardee's, to pay for that car. And he'd just be like, sure, take it. Yeah, that's fine. And I thought that was normal until I got older and like talking to my friends, and they, their brothers and sisters maybe didn't share that way, And I loved that about my brother. What happened is because my oldest brother was like that and I'm number 2, then I tried to be like that, and it just kept going. So all 6 of us have always been that way, always. And we just bend over backwards for each other and help each other out in anything that they need, and we don't expect anything in return. And we don't just do that for each other. We try to do that for anybody and everybody. And I've tried to really, really hard to teach that to my kids. I've shared them that example of my older brother, when they've had a little tiffs of, you wore this, or you stole this, or you grabbed this, and you shouldn't. And I would share that story with them, and they love my older brother. Uncle B is his name. Matter of fact, if my wife and I were to die in a plane wreck on our way to Hawaii together or something, it's my older brother and his wife would take the kids. And I told the kids that, just being the, hey, if mom and I had passed away, it's your uncle B is going to take over. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's going to be awesome. We're going to go live with Uncle B. Yeah, we're dead and you're living with your Uncle B. Yes, that's right. Yeah. You're welcome. Yeah. So thankfully they still get me and my wife. So
that's awesome. I think that you can see that in your other dealings with people too, the power of the sharing, because that's really what you're doing when you're making these connections with people and sharing your knowledge of what will help them and who can help them.
I never thought of that. That makes sense. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I really appreciate the time that you took to share with us and to share what's working for you and share some of your stories. And is there anywhere that we can go to contact you or to learn more about what you're doing with your different businesses?
I think I joked with you earlier. My kids are always like, Dad, what do we tell people when they ask what you do? Mm-hmm. I do several different things. I just love it. But if you want to get a hold of me, it's info@andrewspringergroup.com. And that's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. And if you needed to contact me for any way, shape, or form, and I'd love to get to know you and see what I can do to help you out. That's what we do.
Awesome. Thanks again, Andy, for taking the time to do this interview. Your example of sharing, giving, unconditional acceptance, and enthusiasm has really helped me to learn how to grow my network and make lasting and fruitful connections with so many great people. Thank you to everyone who has joined us for this episode of Primed Fatherhood. I hope you join us from here on out as I broadcast new episodes every Monday and Thursday. If you appreciated this episode, please subscribe and share it with someone who could benefit from it. If you want to join our group of focused fathers to get and give advice and support regarding all aspects of life as a dad, please join the Primed Fatherhood Facebook group. Stay tuned for part 2 of Andy's interview. And remember, the goal for Primed is to help you keep all aspects of being a great father top of mind. So please connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and primedfatherhood.com. Thanks for listening, and stay primed.